collective bargaining agents.
Yeah, so we make copies of the agenda for everyone. Not much has changed since Friday, other than I think we agree that we would try to focus on compensation today. And then we'll work on scheduling a couple of intense days for the rest of the contract.
Okay,
So I will
sounds
pass it on
good.
to you.
All right. When we left on Thursday late, obviously we had done some work passing back and forth, some different ideas and proposals. So we are here today to continue that conversation. We've shared that we understand the concept of looking at the proposed salary schedules and seeing where people currently are and where they would fall. In that, it's created some not equal steps between steps, for lack of a better way of saying it. So we just want to think about how we can create a salary schedule that addresses our current employees, where they currently are and where they would be landing on the new salary schedule, as well as creating a salary schedule that can be sustained over time, but then also really create where some employees aren't receiving different increases in different years. So that is something that is important to us. But at the same time, we hear you that we also want to make sure that employees where they currently are and where they're landing is not less than what they're currently making. All right, so this, I know we've been passing these around. They don't change much because the biggest thing that we're working on obviously is the salary schedule. Correct. But let me get a little group of these. Dr. Patton. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Find it. Oh, that's on your team? Yeah. All right. So this is really looking at what we've talked about already. So I think the key piece that right now we're really looking at is number 2. Employees in the instructional bargaining unit shall be credited with 1 year of experience and shall advance on their respective salary schedules. The respective salary schedule is the part that we are working through, right? That's really a key piece here. Still on this proposal, we would be moving all speech language pathologists, school counselors, and school social workers to the student services schedule, formerly known as Health Pro. And employees at the top of level of schedule A and B will be receiving $2,500. Looking to number 4, this is unchanged. This is still, and we did add in the licensed mental health clinician last time. This would be a $500 one-time supplement. I know we've talked about supplement bonus payment, like we can come up with whatever wording we feel best about there, so we can be consistent throughout, because I see I have stipend, I have supplement, throughout. Number 5, this would be carrying on what we did with the American Rescue Plan this past year. ESE teachers, which would be VE, behavior support and access, would receive a one-time supplement bonus stipend of $2,000. And then number 6 is our national board certified teachers, and 7 and 8 are the employee only health insurance and the fingerprint monitoring fees. Okay.
Okay, let me ask you just a quick question.
Yes, please.
So number 2, because I noticed on our last one, we had some language that talked about those who are at the top at 23, we go to 24, 24 to go to 25.
Correct.
Are you now just assuming that's what number 2 means?
No, that we removed until we
Okay.
can land on a salary schedule, right? That was part of the salary schedule we were proposing at that time.
I see.
Saying this is our salary schedule, and in addition, we would be doing this one-time non-recurring payment. So I think you're about to see another variation of that, and then we can go from there. Okay. All right. So I have 2 sheets for everyone to take here. I think we all have them, right? Yeah. Have them drawn. All right. Just kidding. In case we need more. Oh, sorry. And a second one. It's just one page. There's a second page coming, but yes, it is just 1 page. All right.
On the ESE
Mhm.
supplement, where we
Yes.
just find BE, behavior support and access, does that include the pre-K ESE teachers?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes, you can put that in there.
just making a note.
Yep.
I was asked, so I want to make sure.
No, that's a good thing. All right, so I know when we first see schedules, all of our eyes jump to different things. So let's, I'm gonna kind of take us through it. So the first page here, which is just the 2 salary schedules, right? So this is on the left is the 10-month salary schedule. And on the right would be a corresponding 12-month salary schedule. This is instructional only, not student services. So what you'll see here, we know there were some concerns in the middle of the schedule about where maybe some people would have had less than maybe what they would have received on the current schedule. So what we did here, as you can see, to decompress EOO through EO7, again, we went ahead, it's going up by $250 per step. Then once we hit EO9, this would be going up $1,300 per step up to the top of $71,600. And then on the right side, using the same formula we use right now for 10 months to 12 months, that would be the corresponding schedule. Now, if you go to a for those of you who like things highlighted, and all right, so let's talk through this a little bit. So let's only look at the top, because the top up here is the 10-month and the bottom is the 12-month. So let's just look at 10-month right now, which is the top. In the first 4 columns, which in the white, not highlighted, is our current salary schedule, right? We all see that. It goes from 47.5, it's compressed until EO7, and it has a top at level 23 of 68,000. In the green here, in the green is the salary schedule that you proposed on September 28th, correct? So it started at 47.5, went up to 50, then it went up in varying amounts until it hit the top of at level 25 of 72,800. Okay. This is where we understand the rationale of why your steps have varied. But we feel that it's super important that we create a salary schedule that is consistent and is not just looking at where our current employees are, because this is going to be a salary schedule that might have to carry us through for several years, right? This is our salary schedule. We're not looking for it to be just a one-year thing. So when you look into the blue here, the next column over in the blue, this is the schedule we just showed you, right? This is the schedule we just passed across, where it starts at 47.5, goes up in increments, decompresses the compressed levels by 250, and then goes up by 1,300 until it hits the top of 71,600. On the right-hand side would be a non-recurring payment for each level that gets it to, that is equal to what you offered across the table. So for example, if you look at, hold on, E10, let's go E10, because that's the first one in yellow. E10, your proposal was that E10 was 52,300. Our proposal going up by $1,300 for each step is 52,100. That is a difference of $200. So that would mean that someone's schedule, if we landed on the middle schedule there, would be, your recurring would be 52,100, but then you would get a one-time non-recurring payment to be equivalent to what you had proposed. Because you proposed yours to make sure no one was going to have less than what they currently have. But ultimately, we want employees then the next year, if we are able to, you know, go at another level the next year, to be able to go up an equivalent amount, 1,300, instead of some going up 1,100, some going up 1,600. So that's where we came up with that rationale. So same thing, let's say, for example, you're at E20. You had proposed that E20 was 65,550, going up by 1,300 a step. Ours would be at 65,100. Therefore, the difference would be a one-time non-recurring payment of $450. And then if we get to the top, your proposal was 72,800, going up by $1,300. The top would land at 71,600. That would be a recurring increase for those moving to the top of the scale of $3,600 recurring, and then a one-time payment of $1,200 to bring it up to where you had proposed. Okay. All right. Going to the bottom. The bottom is the equivalent or the corresponding 12-month schedules that go with that. Same concept. So same concept going across. You'll see there's three cells that are in orange. Did they print well enough that you can see them? Okay. 3 cells in orange. That is 5 employees total. Okay, you can see that there's 3 employees at E15, 1 employee at E18, and 1 employee at E21. If I'm going across right, she brought my ruler. Okay. Those 3 or those 5 employees are, it's a little bit wonky, and theirs wouldn't end up in being an increase. Therefore, we are proposing that we move them to the next level so that they do realize an increase from where they currently would be, which then would mean that they are increasing by 1,300, 1,150, or 1,000. So you can see at the bottom, we highlighted moved up 1 level to ensure increase on the uncompressed schedule. So those 5 employees are a little bit of outliers where the schedule, it didn't work for them. So that's what we're proposing for those. You can see here just for the instructional piece here. So instructional, your proposal was 32.3 million recurring. Ours would be 27.1 recurring with 5.2 million non-recurring. Okay, all right. Questions on
So,
this one?
Yeah, you
Before we keep going.
let me just ask a question and
Yes,
make sure
please.
I understand. So you talked about the folks in the 3 cells on the 12-month,
Yes.
and you talked about moving them a level.
Mm-hmm.
Is this proposal, folks are not moving a level? I thought that.
No, moving them a level did
Mhm.
not result in them making more than what they
Right.
would be, so they
Okay.
moved them another level.
Okay, so folks on the 12-month scale, there will be 5 people that will be on a level that does not match their years of experience.
Correct.
Just wanna make
And we have that with employees because, I mean, it doesn't always match because theoretically you don't move if you weren't effective in a given year. But yes, that would be accurate.
Okay, just making a note.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Questions? No, you're good? Okay. All right.
All right.
All right. Did you get one of these? Oh, we didn't.
No.
get- Oh, sorry, guys.
That's it.
Can I have a stack too, please?
I was wondering. It's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, here it is.
I know, you want to play too? All right. All right. So this is going to look very similar, if not exactly similar, to what we had passed across previously for the student services schedule. So what you'll see here is what we had done originally, if we remember back to when we started bargaining, we had done a 3% increase from our current health pro schedule for the student services schedule. And then the concern was brought up, and a very good concern about not having the level 0, because with us moving people from instructional to health pro, that would be necessary in order to make it all work. So we added the level 0, and as well as added the additional levels, because it used to go up to level 21 and now it goes up to level 25. And that increased the proposal. This proposal here went from 4.9 million without level 0 to 6.3 million, adding the level 0, as well as everyone moving a level on it. Same thing I mentioned before. We understand the rationale behind what you're doing with the health pro schedule, with the one you've proposed. But as far as looking to the future, we think it's important that there's consistency between steps. So what we would propose is that we take this health pro schedule that increased everybody by 3%, as well as added the level 0 at a cost of 6.3 million, and use the same concept that we did here, where if you have we could take the difference between your health pro schedule and our proposal and give a one-time payment to account for that disparity with our current employees where they are. But then this schedule would be consistent moving forward, where it would go up the same amount every year instead of being 1,100 this year and 1,800 that, and I'm just throwing out random numbers. But if we took your schedule and looked how it's not consistent from step to step. So we would want to use this same concept with the student services schedule, which we'd have to do, we'd have to drill down on that. But that would be non-recurring money. It would be 6.3 recurring. So you add that to the 27 recurring, and then you would have 5.2 non-recurring in addition to whatever the non-recurring piece would be, to make sure that each employee on the health pro received the total amount that you were proposing on your schedule. Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So when we
ready.
talk about the one-time non-recurring,
Mhm.
and those came up last time.
They did.
These one-time non-recurring payments that are, in an effort to match or reach what we're proposing, will it be part of their base salary and part of FRS, or will it be withheld as a bonus, with the withholding of a bonus?
Where's Ro?
This one time, so one time, after we have FRS rate on one time money, don't we also say?
Couldn't hear that.
Say that one more time.
One
So,
time, and we have to count as FRS rate, part of your
Okay.
base when you stay, we talked about this before, but
Yeah.
when you say bonus.
Yeah.
It becomes now, this is
Yeah.
not one time.
that's what we want to be clear on, because we had some discussion about that
Mhm.
last time, where some of those one-time payments were called stipends, so we weren't sure. So that's one thing we want to be clear on, that
Okay.
it is it truly a supplement and a one-time payment count, part of their base salary, part of FRS.
Right. I think the other challenge is that we know that all of these proposals are more of a level increase than what we would have received if we had stayed on our old salary schedule. So we're obviously attacking the fact that we wanted to decompress the salary schedule and we wanted to correct, but we're not quite there yet. I think it's gonna take time to phase in correcting the student services schedule. So, because it's a large cost, and obviously that's, you know, the concern is that we want to be able to sustain it, but the work is never done.
Sure.
But we have the non-recurring money to help offset, but we want to create schedules that make sense and that create equity between steps, so that's been part of the issue with our schedule now, right? Like someone's going up 800 one year and going up 2,200, and then the next year when we want to do something, and that was your year to get to 2,200, but that's the year that we are having financial difficulties and you didn't get it and someone else did, it feels a certain way, right? So if we have equity between the steps and they're equal, then when we do have years where there's challenges, or when we do have years where we could go more than what a step, like everybody looks the same, you know, so I think by having unequal amounts between steps, it creates issues in the future. It might not create an issue today, but it creates it next year or the year after.
Absolutely. I think that's clearly what's happened over the years to bring us to today.
Correct.
Which is
Correct.
compounded by what the legislature did by compressing all those folks.
Agreed.
So yeah, I think we're both going towards that concept. It's just a way in which we try to solve it this year. So that is my only concern with the one-time payment, is just being very clear that it is an FRS eligible payment. Is that correct?
I have to.
Okay,
go
I know
to
we talked about
FR I
the
need to
difference,
go
but
to-
I just
That's not
want
what
to,
she was saying.
So
That's not what she said.
the goal is to make sure that it is,
that is part of the
Okay.
salary, but it's not an ongoing, so.
right,
The difference in calling it one time versus calling.
okay,
So we'll double
Got it.
check that and make sure that.
that's just gonna
Okay.
be, thank you for that.
But that piece of it wouldn't be recurring.
Yes, I
Right,
understand, so
okay.
we know,
I mean,
and that's gonna be that's part of the discussion, right? So, okay, that's great this year that we got that we got that payment, which is eligible, it's a one-time payment eligible towards SRS. But then next year, how does that look moving forward on those base salaries?
But I think we
So-
also have to be forward thinking to see that. Yes, but if you, maybe on your schedule, the next year, they would have been 1,100 instead of 1,300. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
there's always different amounts if it's not equal between steps.
right, I just
Yeah.
wanted,
There has to be a correction year when we
Yeah.
fix the salary schedule. So, and by
Yeah.
putting that non-recurring payment in there, no one will be receiving less than what you were proposing,
right?
but it fixes the salary schedule.
Correct.
And then it's, moving forward, everyone that moves if we're in a year where we move a level, everyone would move the same amount to the next level. Yeah.
What I have. So then I think based on this conversation of that one-time payment being part of it, we are gonna wanna go through each of those, you know, the longevity stipend for those at the top, the $500 supplement, the one-time supplement, are those all gonna be counted as FRS eligible? So,
When someone's at the top, I can speak confidently that when they're at the top, that's their one salary increase, and
Right.
that is FRS eligible.
Yeah.
That has always been, that is. What I think we need to clarify is, if you get a salary increase on the salary schedule and then you get a non-recurring payment, how that can be coded so that it would be FRS eligible.
Right.
And I have to rely on finance for that.
yeah, so I think, you know what our
Mhm,
important thing is gonna be to understand, if we agree to that,
mhm.
that would be definitely needed, and then we'd wanna just make sure we're very clear in these other ones that, well, how come this one's called the same thing and it's
Right.
not, or,
Correct,
so, if
understood.
in caucus or whatever, we can look at those, the number 4 and 5,
Okay.
and even 6 and 6, anytime there's a one-time,
Mhm,
payment. Cause
okay,
we would absolutely always want it to call the one-time payment.
sure.
I think when we
Absolutely.
call it bonus, a bonus should really be, hey, this is above and beyond, right?
Right.
Like, we have a windfall and it's whatever, and here's something that you weren't expecting,
Right.
so.
Okay.
And this is, what is?
The one-time
payment
payment.
on the student service? So can you explain one more time, we've got the breakdown, the beautiful, love this. This is great. This is very good because it helps people understand the concept.
Okay.
Explain the student services
Okay,
because we don't have that visual.
We don't
so
have
if you
that
could just
visual.
walk through that one more time on the one-time payment for student services.
so what we would want to do if, using the Health Pro schedule,
Yep,
we would want to look at your proposed Health Pro schedule.
right?
And if there was a difference, we would want to look at what that would be and whether it's something that we could potentially look at.
Okay, so that's not part of the proposal right now.
We have
it's
not done that, but that would be something that if you were open to,
Oh,
we're
okay, got
saying,
it.
that might be a concept that we could then apply to this idea.
Okay. All right. All right. I have really no more questions.
I'll have a question, comments.
Okay,
And we'll talk.
all right. I think we're ready to caucus.
Mhm.
I, Dr. Swami responses.
It's up to you.
So. The thing is, I'm gonna look at the bottom portion, because you guys use the adopted budget for my thing. The budget is full always. The budget does not, we always start with projections when we adopt our budget. So we project in my budget, which I vote. So we never look at what was budget versus what is the reality. Just do that, just to see where our revenue fell short, or where our projections were off, or what's happening with our revenue. The only reason we do that. But you cannot ever present a budget across the table based on an adopted budget. It's gotta be actual revenue, like the actuals will be filled out in expenditures. And we talked about this last time when I did my presentation about the expenditures. These expenditures are too high because we had to reduce charter school portion out of that. And I showed that when you said this over budget, this is not true too, because you can't say over a budget that is not the actual revenue, the final budget. Final budget is the final revenue we receive, the final appropriation. So when I look at the total expenditures, you got charter school embedded in here. Remember I told you that ESSER moved in? Those are your salaries that move to ESSER. If I bring them back, we're out of balance. So I did a quick sheet for you guys. So I really want to talk about this summary. I don't have a sheet for everybody, so I just give you here too. Everybody look on it. Because when I did the crowd stuff, I just put something together right before we came here. Share.
Yeah.
Let's pack it in. Come on.
Me too.
Right. What? Well, I don't have a piece of paper. You know, I wanted to get everything on my line. Okay, but you guys can make copies of this if you want to, because we're. So 2021, total operating revenue for that fiscal year, this is actuals. You see the 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23. These are all actual numbers as well as the district of that fiscal year. Second column is the charter pass-through. You gotta deduct that. Comes in, goes out. The final total revenue is where we land at the district, right? That's Hillsborough County Public Schools. That's our portion of the revenue. Those are salaries and benefits that actually hit the ledger. You see salaries and benefits. Non-personnel is all those other costs. That is not personnel costs. So our total expenditures, highlighted in yellow, you see, and our balance. That was my surplus for the year, because let's go to the next column. I moved first year 79 million worth of expenditures off before I closed to ESSER, 67 million in the second year, 129. So my true financial position, if I didn't move that to ESSER, would have been 49.8 million deficit, $73.1 million deficit and $101 million worth of deficit. So this is the true financial picture. So I just wanted to put it in this way so you guys can go through the financials, rebuild it, do whatever you like, but this is actual numbers. So I did these questions down here. 5,000. I'm gonna explain how we build 5,000. I didn't read a presentation for that, but not just this is salary portion. We took the salary portion of the 5,000 out, and I can send this to you guys because I know you guys gonna want it. How we build the budget for 5,000, non-personnel is non-personnel, that's classrooms, materials and stuff. I wanted personnel, and you guys can understand how we build this year. We have $1,034 million in there. Actual field position is $879 million. So that leaves me a difference of 154. We have other wages that we pay out, supplements, with all that stuff. We put it embedded in that number too. So that's 65 million. I'm left with 90 million where I use for vacancies, right? I built 90 million worth of vacancies in my budget. People I want to hire and fill. So my budget, I said I had 6 million surplus, right? When I built this budget. So I add that 6 million, I got 96 million, right? With those vacancies that's embedded in this budget. So 30 million went to contract services because they're going for a contract for those services. They use their vacancies. They say, I want to use my vacancies to, so PSE to support kids in the classroom. So I'm at 66 vacancy savings. 12 million is going to be deducted because our enrollment is low of my revenue. So, right, that's why you can't be able to start with my revenue this year because I'm already taking a hit coming out the gate of 12 million when I count, sure enough, the count. I got 54 million left that's embedded in this budget, and I'm trying to work with to give salary increases. That's where we at. That's why the district is right here. Okay, so that's how that budget is built. I'm planning to spill it all, yes, because I'm showing you how I'm planning to spill it. So if I overgo, it's going to be like this red sheet, right? It's going to be like this. If I overspend, right? You guys said. So I left the 5,000. Here's you show me the capital money fund, the whole budget. No, you rebuild history properly. I want you guys to rebuild it because I want you to see, because I'm very transparent, that I'm taking off my financials. When I go back, history said we have a house. This is not true, right? I'm just telling you, I present facts. Third question, okay, if we succeeded, right? Salary for the year, we can start, right here, up here. We can start tapping in our fund balance, of course. But that means that my stated conditions, I'm eating my fund balance every year. It compounds because this is not going to be the first time. We're not going to just settle contracts this year. We're planning to come back to the table. But if I eat up all my salaries and any assets I have in my budget, and I don't get additional revenue from the state, I build a budget every year based on enrollment. All those factors come into play. I'm going to be eating more than my fund balance. I'm going to be eating my fund balance. That's why fund balance is a savings account. It's one-time money. And that's why we're trying to put one-time money until we solidify additional revenue for this district. Because if you got a savings account and you keep on tapping that savings account, it's going to be depleted eventually. As I told you, I know my savings account in Hillsborough is large, but it's how I utilize it appropriately. If I solidify additional revenue, whatever that may be, then we could talk about, taking care of everyone in this district. But I haven't solidified that yet. We have it as a district, so that's why we're proposing what we are on the table. But if you guys have any questions, or I can send you guys a copy of something that you don't have, then we can do that. Okay.
This is the
Sorry for the small print, you guys.
That's okay.
Just copy and make it long.
All right,
Any
well,
questions
caucus-
before we caucus?
I mean, I could come up with a lot of questions, but I think, and I think, when we talk about numbers, what we look at specifically is the general fund. We don't, rebuild anything. I mean, I think when we look at the general fund, we look specifically at the annual financial report. And, we see what comes in revenue, but then what we're actually looking at, I mean, and I can send these offline because some of the questions or some of the, total expenditures. It's unclear. Because again, we're looking specifically at the general fund, and when we look at total salaries in the 2022-23 salaries and benefits, it's the numbers. So this must have something else in it. And I mean, when we look at the general fund and we understand that charters are part of that, which are, in my understanding, are encompassed in purchase services. So, they would not be involved in the salaries and benefits of the district. So I think it's just, we're not pulling numbers out of, I mean, they're straight from the reports that are on the DOE website and on the
Right.
board agenda. So, and that's where we're looking at. So,
I can quote the same number you guys, so we can have this
Mhm.
offline or whatever, we can go over the numbers, because I think it's just a misunderstanding in some part. I'm not saying that you didn't put on the DO website, but I do a budget, so
right.
this is what I do, so
Yeah.
the DO report one thing, but they don't report the movement, because they weren't able to report that.
Right.
Because once it moves out of the fund, it's not in there.
Yeah, we understand that on the budget we've always been very clear on that. This is the plan that was built, and the annual financial report this is what happened that year. This is actually what was spent. And so again, when we look at,
Yeah.
again, 22-23, when we look at that total of salary and benefits of 1.3 billion, I mean, that's 100 million more than what is actually reported in the AFR. So that's $100 million that who is that paid to?
Because that's actual, when you're looking at actuals versus
Is it-
when we build a budget.
Yeah, is that the AFR, the annual financial report, is that the actual?
I'm saying, when we build a budget, we
Yep.
go with everybody, like that
Yep.
129 that I took off, right?
Yep.
Those people are still part of the general fund. So when I build a budget, I gotta move them back to the general fund, because it's no longer in the ESSER anymore.
Right.
It was pulled down that one time. Now they come back. So I build a budget, that 129 gotta come back over to the general fund. And whatever vacancies I embed in there, and whatever increases we gave in salaries, start becoming part of the budget.
Mhm.
So that's gonna change that budget, because I'm trying to put as much vacancies as I can as I look at my field positions. Everything else that we pay out to staff or whatever, that's in 5,000.
Mhm.
I gotta put it back in, because those are wages we still have to pay. And then any vacancies that, whatever's left, I try to impact all the vacancies that qualify under instructional
Right.
to be back in their budget. So
Right.
that's why
Right.
it's always a moving
Got
target, because I'm gonna try to build it up on all the vacancies I can in the general fund. And
Yes.
then what happens, if we come to the table and negotiate things, it's gonna take down that vacancy savings, that if I don't hire people, that I could potentially hire people. That's what we come to the table and negotiate. Because if you could see, if I didn't move anybody to ESSER, this district is in the red as far as operation, because I cannot sustain it in that budget year. So I start up with a budget,
Yep.
things happen, enrollment drops, I
Yep.
drop that revenue based on what the enrollments forecast, based on our students, or whatever happened during the year. They go to charter, they go to family empowerment, and then that's the portion is ours. We get our budget, that becomes Hillsborough actual budget. Then, if I have a resource that I can move salaries or anything off, I try to use those resources as much as possible to have a fiscal sound budget. So those are the things you're not gonna see in the AFR, because once I move it, it's not gonna be reported in AFR, because they're reporting on finals like I am when I close out the general fund.
Right.
no longer there. So they won't see the movement, they won't see the movement back until I build a budget next fiscal year.
Right.
So that, when I build a budget again, you talk about salary increases,
Yeah.
moving those people back and vacancies, that's embedded in those numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. And so again, when we look at 22, 23, and there's a, in red under salary and benefits, 1.3 billion in salary and benefits, that does not match what the instructional or the entire salary and benefits are reported on the annual financial report. So where was that 129 million spent?
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, move it
So you
up.
moved it, so you,
Move the expenditures. We made, okay, the salary
So
hit
it
our
was-
ledger, they hit our ledger. So if I close out the year with those salaries embedded, then they will be still there on our ledger on general fund. They were reported. But if I move those expenditures to ESSER, they're no longer gonna be reported in AFR because they've been moved off the ledger. They're not under general fund anymore. They are a restricted resource. So they
Correct.
can't report what's not there. And they're coming back. Every year when we build our budget, they come
Right.
back.
okay. I think what you mentioned earlier about how we're kind of talking past each other, I mean, what we're trying to look at is exactly what was spent. And so on those actual salaries and benefits, so.
But you gotta look at increases we gave out to the system too, because we give out increases when we negotiate contracts, then that changed the narrative, that it's not. I mean, well, we can talk about that
Yeah.
offline, because I really want you guys to understand, because it's important, imperative, everybody understand the budget and the impacts of Hillsborough County, and then how it impacts the law, so.
Yeah.
I really want you to understand it, so you can make sound decisions at the table. I'm fine with that, so we can have those off-site conversations. So I'd rather you understand it than to be guessing about it,
All right.
okay?
All right. So we'll take a caucus. Give us 30 minutes. All right. So, we spent some time, we looked at the
All right.
proposal pretty detailed, and I think the good thing is as we keep saying, like, we're very close, and I think the best part of what came to us was the fact that, we're trying to get to that point, to that bottom line,
Yeah.
payment. So the problems that we looked at and tried to come up with a solution for was that it's very confusing to try to explain or try to portray this to employees, that and it's all over the place. We discussed the questions of, well, how come this is more or less, and then you've got to backtrack and explain. And there's a lot, and we agree that we're trying to fix years of problems in one fell swoop. And I think we're both trying to get to that equalization of steps. Our goal is, what we've proposed this year is to make strides towards that. It doesn't fix it all at once. The problems we see with the proposal today is that it kind of kicks a problem a little bit ahead by doing that one-time payment, because there's risks to employee based on some of the discussion that we've had throughout this bargain. What if we don't move in the future? What if there aren't improvements to the scales? History has shown us that student services, for example, when we look at, since I think 2012, when that scale was implemented, what we're seeing is it's only increased by 2.45% over those years. So these are the risks that everyone's kind of thinking about. The instructional scale, when we look back 2019, 2020, the top was increased to 68, but since then, the only other change to that scale has been the implementation of the 47.5, which created this huge problem of compression. So these are the risks that everyone is very, when we discussed it, because we tried to look at, can this work? And again, we all agreed that we're getting there, but these problems became apparent that, what if? Like, as you mentioned, what if it's the year and now people are going to go back? So, we looked also at those few steps on the 12-month where they go backwards. That was a problem. We appreciate the goal or the correction that was offered to try to do that, but then that problem is those steps are still behind what they are currently. So that was kind of an issue that it has to at least move, or it can't go backwards. Those 3 steps can't go backwards. And then student services, I mean, this has been something that I've heard the last 5 months since I've been here, is that you've got to make those gains there, even on that base pay. I know there are some inequities when we move people. Those folks have been left behind for a lot of years, and that scale has been left behind. And I think when we did our comparison costs on that, we really weren't that far apart on that. It wasn't like, $5 million, because the bulk of our employees are on that 10-month scale. So our proposal is we're sticking with our proposed schedules from last week. We did add one schedule at the end, but we'll walk through the language here, which now, based on a little bit of the conversation we heard before about FRS payments, we may have to change that, but we would keep 1 and 2 the same, effective July 1. Salary schedules agreed upon shall be updated and placed in the appendix. Effective July 1, 2023, employees in instructional bargaining unit shall be credited with their year of experience and shall advance in their respective salary schedules accordingly. Number 3, effective July 1, 2023, we have the language about all of those student services on A, B, E, G, P, and Q being placed on student services, formerly known as Health Pro. So no changes there. No changes to your language. Employees who are at the top of level of the current Health Pro will advance to their step reflective of their years of experience, which is basically the language in those next 2 bullets about those on 24 will go to 24, those on 25 will go to 25. The longevity stipend of $2,500 credited towards FRS will be paid to instructional employees on the top of schedules A and B. I think that's correct, since they would not be.
That is correct.
We've offered some kind of clarification on the ESE payment, because there was a lot of discussion and a lot of input on who has actually gotten that in the past. So our proposed language here is effective July 1, 2023, ESE instructional staff, including but not limited to BE, behavior support, pre-K ESE, DAH, VI, SLP access, who case manage primary exceptionalities for students for the entirety of the school year, and ESE specialists will receive a one-time supplement of $2,000. Now, we put credited towards FRS based on the conversation. If we can talk about that. That's what we would like, but and then the eligible employees must be current active employees at the time of payment. And one thing I know we've had these discussions in labor management, but we would like to propose this language that the parties agreed to negotiate an annual MOU to clearly define eligibility for the one-time supplement based on available grant funding. Because of this very issue of like, who gets it, who doesn't. We've had these people I've got in the past. And I mean, I've got a whole group of people here who can be like, that person got it, that person got it. So I think it's important to have those 1-year agreements that, hey, they sunset their base. We all understand they're based on grant funding, but that way it's clear. Everybody knows going in that that's who's getting it. Not that we're against supplements and grant funding and all that stuff, but we also know it can change. Effective July 1, 2023, eligible national board certified shall receive up to one-time $1,000. Again, we put the credited towards FRS, but that was based on our discussion earlier where we heard a one-time payment could, but that's all the same. And then same with the student services additional supplement for the licensed school psychologist, licensed school social worker, licensed SLP, the CCCs, licensed mental health counselors, and certified behavior analysts will be paid the one-time $500 supplement. Again, we'd like it credited towards FRS, but again, based on that research, and then the rest is the same. So our salary schedules are the same that we proposed on the 28th for the 10-month, the same that we proposed on the 28th for the 12-month, the same student services 205 and 198. There is a new scale in there based on the 253 day. I know we didn't have that last time, but we created this scale based on the same hourly rate difference that is currently between the 10 and the 12-month on the instructional. We put that same hourly rate difference between the 10 and 12-month on the student services. So
Between what's currently between them, or what
Yes.
you propose between them on yours?
what is proposed, it's the current. So
Okay.
the hourly rate difference between 10 and 12 months right now, I think what we ended up coming up with on our 10 and 12 month right now, it's like very, very minimal. I mean, it's like a few cents. And so, but we were sticking with that same concept of whatever the difference, the hourly rate difference between the 10 and 12 month. some of the problems we saw and we discussed last time with the proposals were that if we are increasing that separation, that's a detriment to those 12-month employees. They see that as going backwards. That's not, with cost of living increasing, and we're not doing true COLAs really. I mean, it's kind of all over the place because of the problems in the past with the scales. That's been a real important aspect that our employees have brought to us, that if those hourly rates are going down, if the base salary is going down, that's a loss. So at the least, we have to maintain the same or improve, and our goal is to improve. I think we share the goal of fixing those steps, but like I said, those risks, what if we don't move? What if the skills aren't improved, even though that is always our goal? Recent history has shown us that this has been, sometimes this happens, right? Where, well, we'll do a one-time payment again, and that's a problem. So our position is firm. We don't believe that the $5 million is going to bankrupt the district. That again, we've taken the numbers straight out of what's been filed on the annual financial report, and that's where we're at.
So basically, you're just not countering with anything.
Well, we've made a few adjustments in the
Which added
Proposal.
something, didn't take anything out,
it
correct?
added it. We think that it clarified on the ESE.
Okay.
And the only addition is just what you all had proposed last time on the student services was a 253-day schedule.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this is where we're at. I mean, we're confident that this is where we're at, and this is what we want to stick to.
All right. Yeah, anyone have anything else to share or question? Did you want to clarify on the AFR, Ms. Johnson? Okay, all right. Okay.
AFR?
Yeah,
Oh. On page 91, that's the more than salaries and benefits.
So we're gonna have to pull it up. Not everybody has a copy of the AFR. Because so we're talking about page 91, which deals with federal funds.
Yep.
I just think that, I mean, again, we can agree to disagree. We can, have an understanding or a differing, maybe it's just a differing of opinion. I mean, when we see appropriations either in the budget, which is hopefully a best estimate based on a reality of, hey, if this happens and we have to spend this on salaries, that we're gonna spend it there. That even based on the AFR over the years, that if we just look at those, that funding is available now. That's our position.
all right. All right, well, we will caucus.
Okay.
Right, perfect. All right, obviously, to be transparent, a little disappointed with, being put in a position where we're kind of compelled to bargain against ourselves, which I know we've had this similar situation in the past, right? When it was the other way in reverse, and I understand how it feels. So we're going to continue to bargain in good faith. We're going to continue to work towards this goal. And I know you said we're going to agree to disagree on some of the budget things, but I don't know that it's an agree to disagree. I think obviously it's a different view on what is in the budget and how things were moved. But I think ultimately, like we've talked about, we are close. But But the challenge is we need to make sure that we create a schedule that we can sustain. And the goals this year have been to uncompress the salary schedule, to, we didn't come this year saying, let's just give everybody a level on our new salary schedule. No one did that. From the beginning, we've all been working towards this goal of uncompressing the salary schedule, putting more money towards the top of the scale where we feel like it hasn't been based on the teacher salary increase allocation. We all know that legislation created challenges. Our teacher salary increase allocation this year is 15.5 million. We are bringing much more to the table than that. And we want to continue to work towards this goal. One of our priorities, which I think you've heard, and is that we want a salary schedule that can move forward over time. And one of our priorities is that we would like to work towards something that has equal difference between steps. That is a priority that we are asking to work towards. So we are hoping that there can be some movement towards that. That is important to us, the same way that you have priorities that are important to you. We want the salary schedule to make sense, and we want employees in the future to be able to see that they are moving the same amount as their peers, and that it isn't just about this year and where people are right now in this moment, but that it makes sense for next year, the year after, and the year after, and years to come. The other thing, we understand that the offer that we brought that has the one-time, the increase, as well as the one-time non-recurring payment, if it is as a bonus, then there's different taxes taken out of that, correct? So we are bringing, finance has done the research on that, and it would be approximately 15%. That would be taken out of that, correct, Ms. Garcia?
That was really FRS.
The FRS benefit?
FRS.
Yeah, help me out here. Not my wheelhouse.
It's not taxable.
Yes, okay, so the FRS benefit would have been 15%. So what we would like to do is take that one-time non-recurring payment that we have offered and increase all of those by 15%, so that that is a larger amount than what we have brought as a one-time. In addition, the ESC bonus. The ESC bonus costed out the way that we had done it originally, with all of the ESC teachers that are carrying a caseload, was approximately $3.5 million. That is significant. If you have the desire to add additional employees to that, then we would want to decrease that amount so that it still falls within that $3.5 million. So if you want to add the speech language pathologists, the visually impaired teachers, and the, I don't have a, thank you, DHH, then we'd need to look at those numbers and still stay within that total. Okay. Moving our student services employees to the Health Pro schedule is a significant step in the right direction. That does come at a significant cost financially. And our priority is to create a salary schedule that we can move forward, and we would like it to be equitable between steps. So again, what we are bringing right now as a counter to ourselves is a 15% increase to those one-time non-recurring piece of this schedule. Am I saying that right?
I
Okay,
think so.
so 15
On your proposal, the yellow,
the fun,
yellow,
the pretty one.
all the way on the right,
Yes.
you'd add 15% to those.
correct. Okay, so add 15% because that it would be the FRS contribution that is not able to happen when there's a salary increase plus the one-time bonus. And in addition, we would be open to considering those additional employees for the one-time ESE payment, but it needs to stay at that 3.5 million. So we would need to do the costing of that, how many SLPs, visually impaired teachers, and DHH teachers and do the math on how that would need to be broken up.
Yeah,
Okay. And the ESC specialist,
yeah.
correct. We understand why you're asking that, but
Yeah,
3.5 million is significant.
understood. So I just want to make some comments, bargaining against ourselves. So, I mean, we looked at this at the numbers that were put on here. So it didn't seem, and it may be because we didn't talk about totals with the non-recurring, that the non-recurring on the instructional didn't come up at all. And compared to kind of like the tracking that I was keeping along on recurring fund.
Say it again.
So you were saying that you're having to bargain against yourselves and we put you in this position but the problem is when we looked at the way that the money was distributed on the recurring side of the proposed scale,
Mhm.
and from what I understand last time, you didn't come up on that at all. So
We changed it to meet the priorities. Like, I know we had mentioned that the middle was
Mhm.
where we didn't want anyone to
right.
go lower,
Okay.
right? And we had originally put it at the top,
Mhm.
right? We had put it with those moving to 24 and 25.
Right.
So yeah, so we redistributed that.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, when we talk about bargaining against ourselves, like that's not the good faith piece is that we have. I mean, where we started at 89 and you at 27.4. Those differences, I mean, the districts come from 27.4 to at least on Thursday at 34 million. And we've come down significantly from 50 to 42 to 39. We've made those strides, and then it just seems that the district is also putting us in a tough position of, well, we've got this and this is all we're gonna do. So that's our response to that. I think this priority of the steps being equal, I do not recall that from the beginning of bargaining. I
No,
understand
that was
it.
just,
So it's a recent priority,
It
and
is.
that's something that, this team has not made. I mean, I think there's a desire to get there, but to just go ahead and rip that Band-Aid and do it right now with all of these ripples and problems, that's why we didn't go that route. So,
well, and I
that
feel
put
like if
us-
we're changing salary schedules, right?
Mhm.
That's what we're doing,
Yeah.
right? We all are proposing a new salary schedule.
Mhm.
Why not do it where we do address that priority?
Well, and I think that we're taking steps to address that. But again, like I said, it kicks a problem down the road that the next year we're in a position where, we didn't actually fix that because now we've got these non-recurring payments that may
See,
not
I
happen or
don't
not.
agree with that just because ultimately that kicking the can down the road,
Mhm.
some people would be receiving more next year that, like, if you're all receiving 1,300, but you would have received 800 or you would have received 1,000, or at some point you have to reset
Yeah,
and it has to be the new start.
but with the comments and the recent history of, well, this year we may need to take a pause, we may not get that step, or this is the year that we just want to do non-recurring supplements again, or one-time
The only
payment.
way we would not be able to do that, honestly, is if we put ourselves in a situation by bargaining a salary schedule we can't afford.
Well, so is there an appetite to make an agreement that, okay, those supplements that are paid this year will become non-recurring and part of the scale? Because the issue of, we're actually not improving that base salary. That's the issue. And so, I mean, if there's a desire to enter into an agreement like that,
Is there a desire to look into
For
a
a
2-year
two-
agreement?
that's what I'm asking you. So I guess the question is that an additional 5 million, that's gonna put the district in a position of possible bankruptcy in the near future? I mean, $5 million is,
It's 5 million recurring.
yes,
And it's actually 6, but it's recurring, and then that's recurring the next year,
Yeah.
as well as if you did a step,
Mhm.
that's another recurring. So it's not
Mhm.
just 6
But
million.
this is why we're in this position of
Mhm.
trying to say we've got to do what we know we can do now,
Correct.
because the district has taken that position of, well, this year we can't do it. And so this is the risk, like I explained earlier, that we do this one time and then we don't get a step. Now what happens? And that one-time supplement is not there
Right.
recurring.
But I think we've shown by what we brought with the support salary schedule and by what we're bringing, we're not trying to keep it. Like, we want to do what we feel that we can sustain. That's why we brought what we brought. We brought more, several million more than what you asked for support, because we want to fix the salary schedules and be able to move forward with those salary schedules. So we're not trying, we're truly, the reason we're resistant to do some of this recurring is because we truly think it's going to put the district in a bad situation for those future increases.
So again, I think that I've addressed the comment of bargaining against ourselves with the actual recurring money. The new priority, you put us in a hard spot too, to try to even agree conceptually without seeing actually what that student services, what those supplements would look like. So, you know, the folks here were like, how can we agree if we don't actually know what that looks like? And I think, you know,
I think we could put it into Excel pretty quickly, like put the current, I mean, it's just the difference
right,
from, you have, see?
Mhm.
And it ranges from, at the bottom of the scale, it ranges from 200 and something, and it's to the top at around 2,000.
Yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me, but 2,200, 2,300, is that correct? So it doesn't take,
Okay.
Excel's magical.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's just to the point of it's unclear how $5 million puts the district in a position to be facing this major, you know, landslide of an issue in the future. With these repeated comments of unknowns and what could happen or what might not happen.
But the 5 million is one piece, but the other piece is also not having equity among the levels, which can be achieved with all the different salary schedules we have. I mean, that's easily
Right.
adjusted.
And I mean, this is not me that's making, I mean, this is employees that are looking at that, and that priority is not as important as trying to actually put money on that scale that we know will be there next year if the district says, hey, we have to take a pause again, because that's happened multiple times now in the past 5 years.
What's interesting to me with some of that, and let's just talk the instructional salary schedule. There were only 2 spots in that salary schedule that when you put even equity among each step or between each step, that it was like $50 or $100 difference. So why would we be making all the levels random? Not random, but you know, not uniform.
Yeah. Well, again, our goal has been to close that gap because we know we're trying to get towards that goal of equalizing the steps. And actually, we made a proposal originally that had the steps actually accelerating. That was our goal. So again, the position you put us in by saying, well, we're going to have equal steps now is the unknown of next year, which you keep talking about. Why you can't do $5 million now, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And that's not a solid position to bargain on. I appreciate all the comments about moving ESSER from here to there, but I think it's I don't know. I think that when we put in a financial report, this is what we spent, but then, well, we're going to budget it this year and then move it again and then claim it. That's disingenuous to employees. It's showing the general fund that this is where we're going to spend. We're going to say we're going to spend it, but then not really.
Is there a way to address our priority of having more equity between the steps, but still achieve what you're trying to do?
I think that we tried to propose that originally, and I suspect that if we did it in a way that realized the recurring increases of the salary scale, it's going to put us in a more expensive position. I mean, we can take a break and I can run what that would look like, but we're also trying, like I said, to make these gains to get us in a position that's closer to where the district is. I mean, from 27.4 to 39.7 on your side to our 89 to 39. I mean, we have absolutely taken that into consideration, even though, again, all of this is based on your numbers that are reported. I just don't think that, you know, there's all these things that you could look at, vacancies, and it's like, you know, now we're getting into the weeds of, you know, is this what we want to spend all of our time on? We have looked at all of that, and we have been doing this in good faith to try to find that agreement that will satisfy employees right now that we know will go out and ratify.
I
when
think there's a
we-
way to do both.
but
I
when
do
we
think
put-
there's a way to look at what we're doing and put the equity between steps and still achieve the goals that you were
Yeah,
sharing.
and I think, this newer priority of the equalized steps and then saying, well, we'll do these one-time payments, that is not something that in recent history appeals to employees. Because again, of that risk factor that it could go away and not be there.
So is there a place in between where there could be a counter that equalizes the steps, but maybe minimizes the non-recurring?
I mean, I guess we could run it and look at it, but yeah, I think that if you were gonna do that, we have the issue of the 47.5 and all those steps. I mean, there's already gonna be issues there. So if we're truly gonna do that.
Well,
and
our
make-
part of our schedule,
Yeah,
both of
we-
our schedule
yeah.
proposals are the same there, so
I
it would be only between 9 and
Yeah, so I
25.
mean, that's the thing, we're both trying to go towards the same solution. We're trying to get there in different ways, and the way that, what the board, essentially the school board has proposed right now, puts employees in a position of, oh no, this is a repeat of what's happened in the past, when we've come and we're expecting our step, nope. Well, it's a one-time payment that, well, it might not be there next year.
So
That-
what I'm
that's the risk.
asking, and I don't know if I'm saying, is
got
there a
you, I
way
hear
to
you.
look at what?
Yeah,
Is there a way to look at our priority of more equity between
Mhm.
steps?
Yeah.
But still be within maybe
yeah.
closer to
Go
what
ahead.
you are looking at?
Can I ask, is it equitable between steps? If I'm in my 9th year and I'm gonna get a $1,300 increase,
Mhm.
and that's the same increase that I'm gonna get going from year 29 to 30, a $1,300 increase. Is that equitable in terms of a percentage?
But right now,
Uh,
your schedule doesn't even,
I'm just trying to counter,
Yeah.
like, you're trying to
Yeah.
make sure that it's the same all the time, and I'm not sure if that's the solution that is equitable. That's all.
okay, and I think we're just not seeing the rhyme or reason between where, it's not like it's accelerated, or it's like,
Because our first proposal was,
because it was way too, but we couldn't afford
but
that.
that concept was there,
Right.
because it is expensive, it's expensive to do
Correct,
that.
correct.
And so we adjusted based on what we've heard to
Correct.
try to get to a position that bottom line
Mhm.
increase that those employees are getting is actually what the employees actually realizing this year is more equitable than it has been in the past. The steps are not equalized, that's true, but they're absolutely closer than they are right now. So I think another issue that we see is that what employees currently are seeing over a 3 or 4 year period, now we're equalizing those steps and making it less. So, if it's 2,000, 8,000, and 1,000, you're getting $4,000. Well, now that's decreasing. So
Right, but we're taking 1,900 employees that have been at the top,
exactly.
and they're moving
Yeah.
$4,000 recurring.
Yep.
Like, that's significant.
Yep.
And
That's the adjustment we made to the revenue scale. So I appreciate the district's desire to get there. That is our desire too. But to try to ensure employees realize an increase this year that they've needed the last how many years? Increases to those salary scales that has not been happening over the last 3 years and the last 10 years for our student services. So, we can look at it. I think we presented those. We've never been in a position, I think, when we've proposed where all the steps are equal. And again, this is a newer priority. So, and like I said last week, what we put forward before our last counter was what our employees, what this group representing hundreds and thousands of employees said that's what employees want to see right now. So I don't know. I guess we can caucus and have a little bit of a discussion and see what we can come up with. But that's absolutely, we're absolutely bargaining in good faith. We have since day one. And but when we see shifting of non-recurring and decreasing the recurring, that puts us in a tough position too. So I don't know if you have any other comments or questions.
No.
Okay. All right.
So we'll say, yeah, we'll say 15, 20 minutes and then I'll let you know.
Okay.
So, so we looked at some things, and I just want to say a few things that our priorities have remained steadfast, and we've been clear about it from the beginning that we've wanted to honor the veterans, decompress, that's a good movement that we're on those two fronts we're working at, and raise base salary. But the overarching issue that we've said over and over again is retaining. We want to recruit, yes, but if we can't retain the employees we have now, then we're going to continue to have these problems. So this new priority that that's now come up with equalized steps, it perpetuates inequities that our proposal is trying to address like now, so folks realize that what they were gonna get and more. So some of the issues that we had brought to begin with, the difference between the 10 and the 12-month scale, that was a priority of ours that we gave up as a concession, and now we're back to the same separation. We wanted to address advanced degrees and increase there. We gave that up because we understand, let's look at where we're at. We've given up a lot. And this new priority is asking us to give up more concessions. The problems that we're trying to fix, as I've said, have developed over years. We know this wasn't just, oh, last year this happened and now we're trying to fix it in 1 year. This is years and years, decades and decades of underfunding, bad legislation. It's years where the board has, not given raises or taken a pause, or we're going to do a supplement. That's in recent memory for the employees we represent. I think we're both working towards that goal of more equalized steps and even an accelerated. And we've looked at that, but where that would actually fall to make sure that those raises were equitable in the range that we're thinking employees can really see a difference, we know that would cost too much. And where we are now is where we believe that the district can sustain. I think the disappointment on our side is that $5 million could mean we'd have an agreement right now. So what we kind of played around with that idea, and it created the same problem where you're going to see either the very same raise you'll get this year, or it now puts us above our last position. So we're willing to look at that again, but to try to do something that encompasses those priorities that we have had from the beginning. The only thing I could say is that we'll need more time.
Okay. Well, and I understand. Obviously, every schedule we've brought has also had equal between steps. So that has been something that our schedules have had. Maybe we haven't stressed it as a priority now that we've gotten to getting close to the finish line. That's what the concern is that the schedules are so different.
Yeah.
And I think some of the concerns we saw is, there are years, and Larissa, I don't know if you can remember which step, but you look at one where maybe it's they're going up 1750, and then the next year they're going up 1025. So that
like you're 16 and 17.
Yeah, so that's where we just want to be able to address that and have it more equal between steps, so that like we said, now our current schedule, like this year's the year I get 2200, but next year I'm getting 800. So we won't.
But honestly, if we were going in that direction, every employee should get 2,200. Honestly, that's the reality of what our employees actually deserve. But we know that that's not where we're at right now.
But I think when we look at what each employee is going to realize, for the most part, most are getting at least 22, if not more.
And again, that piece of what you all keep reiterating is the unknown of the future. And so we're asking employees to say, well, just trust us now. And that's shown to be difficult like I said, the last 3 to 5 years. So we're willing to try one more time, but okay. I just, again, I'm here with this team representing employees.
Mhm.
This is not something that's like, well, this is what I think it should be. So if those equalized steps were the number one priority that we heard from employees, that would have been from the beginning too. But what we're trying to do is ensure that people realize more than they've been
Mhm.
getting. And
Right.
honestly, that should be in the 10-11% range because of what they've been through the last few years with inflation and cost of living. But that's not where we're at right now. So again, I mean, the concessions that we've given have been substantial, and that is bargaining in good faith.
I still think there's a way to get to where we meet all these priorities.
Well, and I think we said it last time, these non-recurring, bonus type payments, that's not gonna retain employees. It's just not. If it did, then it would, we do it all the time. And it doesn't, it's not what works. And where we
Okay.
see districts that are doing that, again, I've said it many, many times here, there's a referendum and there's that supplemental pay. That is actually substantial. These small one-time payments, I don't know. I just think that I've made those points. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. I've got a request for information, but before we set dates, but
I think you've covered it all.
okay. So there's a couple things that I want to make sure we get. The district summary budget and the annual financial report had been part of our original information request, and we're requesting that in an Excel format. I can resend that public records request if needed. We'd also like to. So you don't submit it to the state in an Excel format?
You do the budget. The budget portion, but. With the AFR.
Okay, what's that?
No,
What's,
you can, the budget would be in this.
okay, and the AFR, no.
We can give it to you.
Okay, because I think what we've looked at is kind of like the copy on the board docs, and I know the budget, it's like a photocopy, so it's difficult for us to
Yeah, I
extract.
can give it to
Thank you. The other thing we would like to get is for the 22-23 school year, this last school year, what the total amount spent on the ESE supplement cost. So that we can kind of look at that, because we understand that there's a pot of money, but the problem we're facing is that when we start cutting people out, then wait a second, I got it last year, I got it this past year. So
Okay.
we can kind of look at that, what was spent for 22-23. I think that'll be helpful.
Okay. It was just last year, yeah. Yeah, that supplement was only last year that we've
Yeah.
done it. So from that American Rescue Plan, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So we can get that ESE.
Yeah.
Facilitated that process, so we can get that.
Okay. So other than that, I think that we're gonna need to schedule some dates.
Okay.
I think this week's gonna be a little difficult. We looked at Monday the 9th. And possibly at your place, we do have an event here, but we could do that date if you all have it. And then we were also looking at the 17th and 18th.
All right. What, 17th board meeting day?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so we're saying the 9th at ISC if we can find availability. Okay. I have a Post-it note.
What's that?
I have a Post-it note.
Yes.
I have them back in the bag. So far away.
And the 18th, maybe even starting early and going as late as we need to during the
And
day.
even the 9th, I mean, both of
Or-
those
or the
days
9th,
could
yeah.
be- Are both gonna be full days.
The 9th we can't do till 3:30, and I'll have
Okay.
to verify the room.
Okay. We'll just we'll
Yeah.
pencil it and wait to hear back.
Yeah, I'll note it tomorrow morning.
but, Okay.
18th. 18th. I don't see a concern there, do you?
Doctor's appointment in the morning. Which is very scheduled.
The 18th here.
We can do it here. Check. I think they wrote that down, so we can do it here.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that here.
My appointment's at 8, meaning that y'all could start.
Yeah.
But I can't.
So maybe on the 18th at 9 AM.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then, I don't know.
Leave it at that for now.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
let's see what the 9th looks like and then
Mhm.
go from there.
And then we have this Friday at 9 AM for
Yes.
ESP.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here for that.
Okay, good.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you repeat those dates?